Good evening, everyone. System Chalk here with the 21st episode of Cultist Simulator, playing as the bright young thing, David Ellison. We're going to just take a quick review of where we are. It's been a weekend. I hope you all enjoyed your weekend, but I am always bad at remembering where we were. So we're going through the stag door. That's just the highest that I can go through. We currently have an investigation going on into me now. What I don't recall here... So I remember we dodged the weary detective at some point, and I'm trying to remember how it was that we wound up with this new notoriety to sink me. Either way, it's going to hit us. There's not a lot that we can do about it. We could, we could try and do the painting, but we're already doing it. Notorieties are already going to get picked up. So the best we can do is just make sure that we've got our moth followers in place. We are promoting people with lantern. I can study. I think we were going to translate some books next. And then for the explore verb, I guess the question is, do I want to try and go on another expedition, knowing that that will potentially generate some notoriety for me, or do I lay low? I think probably it's better for me to charge into the task. So yeah, let's start with that. Let's start... Enid is a disciple, Neville's a disciple, so I think the Forgotten Mithraeum is probably the best place to start. So, let's add a couple funds. We always start with the percussagant, but in this case we suspect that we're going to need either knock or lantern. So, Forgotten Mithraeum. Curiosity seekers have picked over this ancient temple, but there may be a hidden door here somewhere. I'm convinced the Mithraeum still holds secrets that its discoverers never found. It's unlikely to be dangerous, but the search will require funds. Okay, let's start translating. So we'll grab our Greek and translate the roads of Wanzai. Marked with a triple sign of the arcane contemplative order known as the Sisterhood of the Knot, but a fourth leaf has been added, disfiguring the sign in Greek. And then the other thing I want to keep an eye on is the fascination. Currently we're doing reputation painting, so I don't have... Oh, hang on. We only have three... No, sorry, we have two notoriety here, so... And because this is a reputation painting, we'll pay for the funds. Honestly, I'm only going through the motion. The quality of my work will no doubt suffer. There's nothing to be ashamed of here. My recent work has accrued modest fame. My paintings have reviewed well, so 4 funds is definitely a good return. We still keep our pulsing airs, still have the notoriety, but we do have some staleness. Now in this case, I'll probably want to lay low for a little bit on the passion painting, and that's just basically waiting for the season of visions to pass by. So in this case, we'll just wait a little while. We will be able to do a commission for Dr. Adim in a little bit, but we'll just wait to see what comes out. Okay, there is the risk if we go to the Painted River, then the fascination hits me. So let's go through... Actually, the forge will let me summon a Callagine. Gearby was weeping again. I scooped up his molten tears in my cupped palm. In the dream, my skin peeled and blistered, but only in the dream. So if we take the sunset right, trembling heat, we will add the operation of the declining sun. Now the drawback here is that I'll tie up one of my knock followers. Maybe that's not something I'm willing to... Okay, here's what we're going to do. We'll add Cat Caro. We will still summon the Callagine because we're likely going to need it. And here we can add... actually, okay, there's one other thing I can try. I think the Locksmith's Secret is a little too weak for what I need. Or not the Locksmith's Secret, Winter. Yeah, actually I only have believers, so I think even the disciple wouldn't be enough. Oh, okay, well, shows what I know. Forge for the smoky spirit summoning, winter for its binding. It must know who will rule it. Okay, so we'll bring Cat Carol back, and we will add Enid to the expedition for the 10 knock. Our expedition plans for the next challenge. It'll consume funds. I could add funds now, or I could send another follower. And with the talk verb, he navigates, now you are the map. He illuminates, you were the darkness. He is not compassionate, you will not show compassion. Our compass is knowledge, and our course is glory. Tristan will do what is necessary. To create, sometimes one must first destroy. So I think that was so I could have a team for Cater and Hero. Let's just make sure we've got Laidlaw and Tristan. Do I have... Yes, I've got Moth for followers as well. So I suppose the obvious choice now is to bring some Winter into the group, because we were in a situation... Well, actually, sorry, before that, let's talk to Dr. Adim about some research. The doctor would like help with this research. And we should be going through the stag door. The stag door is the Adept's Gate. To pass it is to be initiated into the first true mystery of the House of the Sun. The head Gearby weeps to see me enter where it cannot, but it must let me pass. The scarred valves of the door grind open. Prepared the text. And Dr. Adim would like a substantial commission on the secret histories. Let's get Madame Bichet dealing with this as well. And I'm certain that my adversary has lodged a copy of their notes elsewhere, with their solicitor, with their superior, or even with a contact in the press. This is troubling. So I think the best that I can do here, if the Callagine doesn't turn out, what we'll do is we'll send Sylvia on, off to get rid of the evidence. I think we're going to read the Rose of Wanzai right away. That might generate fascination just because of the lantern. Probably not, but I always, like when I'm reading a winter text, allow for the possibility of dread. When I'm reading a lantern text, allow for the possibility of fascination. And obviously there are knock texts that will produce some dread. There are a few others that do it as well, but just because generally for games, I don't find it very helpful to memorize certain things. Like, I don't know, I just sort of feel like there's a little bit more life than memorizing how certain cards work for a game. Just being able to develop a few heuristics, and more importantly too, right, it's just kind of a flavor of the game. It's helpful just to kind of, you know, have a rough idea in terms of what might be coming up. So that's how I think about it. Again, I don't necessarily think that Cultist Simulator is a game, I suppose, unless you're doing some kind of a speed run. I don't really think it's one about the most efficient path through the different events. Okay. The heretical teachings of the disgraced offshoot of the Sisterhood of the Knot, that arcane contemplative order that existed in all histories. This was recorded by Wanzai and dedicated to Saint Respicius. The offshoot favored by Wanzai, the true sisterhood, followed Saint Respicius in pursuing ascension in the name of the door in the eye, the merciless hour of light. Saint Respicius failed, perhaps because the larger sisterhood tracked him down and ritually strangled him, but Wanzai outlines the steps for those who hope to succeed, which is of course relevant to us. And we bear a great power of opening. We'll almost certainly find this hidden door. We don't really have anything to do. Maybe we'll add money if the objective fails here, but I'm not too concerned. Here's what she needs, a very substantial commission on Moth, which we can achieve. So we're going to wait for the summoning to finish before we go too much further. So in this case, let's just add more people to the cult, and this is going to be, this is definitely going to be one where we add someone like Violet. It'd be nice to have some Edge followers as well, but I usually tend to use Edge sparingly. I have no idea why I used an Open Soul there. So, Violet likes to paint. She has a gift, though she's always been very modest about it. She never puts human figures in her paintings. There are enough people in the world. So in this case, we'll just use the Unmerciful Mantra. Oh, sorry, what am I saying? The Unmerciful Mantra and a... Right. Now I remember why we can't just get... There's a reason why we can't just get disciples. I actually need the erudition for it. Well, that's fine. We'll leave the talk verb open, but obviously our next step is going to be sending out the Callagine, or if we don't send out the Callagine, sending out Sylvia. Faint lines in stone, a surface that yields to pressure. We found it. The hidden door moves with a grating shutter and a shower of dust. So we're ready to do a passion painting if I'm so inclined. And we've got restlessness coming up. But we'll try the Painted River, and we've got the bed and epic for our trouble. There is a great chamber in the mansis through which the Painted River flows. The vagabond, it is claimed, painted it from memory in the years before she left the house. Certainly, there are histories concealed in its design. I traced them with my hand last night. There were fragments of aquamarine paint beneath my nails, flecks of gold leaf when I was done. So you probably have more forbidden epics than I really need, but this is the highest level that I can go to right now, so it's still helpful. And not all of the Forge's children are bright. Its offcuts and its bastards gather in the bounds like hammer scale in the cracks of a smithy floor. Here comes one now. So we still have a rising heat, but we have one job for the Callagine, and that's the destruction of evidence. So again, as nice as it would be to paint some of this stuff, I have a higher priority of getting rid of the evidence. Let's go back through the stag door. And work-wise, I suppose the question is, do I want to do the painting or do I want to do the commission? The commission will get me the erudition that I want, so let's go for the secret history first. This may be useful for a commission. I do want to make sure that I'm still making money, but I can still sell the iron spintra, or spintrea. Not quite sure the pronunciations. And then I have 2 books I can sell. But Seek in dreams, seek the mansis. The third mark can be achieved only when one has passed the stag door. One must pass the wood, one must rise to the white door. The stag door awaits the light bearer in the sight of Girby. So we've already dedicated, or oh, actually, hang on. I think I can move this higher with the stag door now that I think of it. All right, we've got Chiliarch's Lesson. Now, this is good for us because this means that we can move up to Janning's commission next. So we'll upgrade Chiliarch's Lesson when we have the opportunity, but working with the Rose of Nuriel and Kionat Abydos is the higher priority right now. Both don't need to be translated. We apparently already dealt with that. But we will take our Greek, we will translate the Rose of Nuriel, marked with a triple sign of the arcane contemplative order known as the Sisterhood of the Knot in Greek. And you can kind of see we're continuing on from where we were last week. Just we had an opportunity to get some more books. We'll take the knowledge, but I am in a kind of a nice position right now because erudition does help me out in terms of adding more people to my cult. Oh, hang on, I can put reason in my... I don't know why I didn't think I could bring someone in. Anyways, it doesn't matter. We'll deal with it. But yeah, essentially right now we're just trying to level up our different types of lore. But yeah, I'm pretty sure I can level up my enlightenment. And I just wasn't thinking about it. Or my dedication. The deeper sanctuary, a lonely space, musty with the memory of blood. We have found the hidden door that the highest grades of initiate used. So the restlessness will definitely be something that I want to use in a painting, so probably only one commission for the next little while. We'll see what's coming up in a moment. Not my favorite, but we should be able to deal with that. I dreamt of the mansis behind the white door, of the great space above the orchard, the space that overlooks the bounds, the space where the vagabond once painted her river. Painted ships passed upon the painted river. I met the painted eyes of a painted captain. She saluted, and the motion was like the layered movement of clouds. The sail of the ship was amber, and the captain's eyes the green of new barley, and the river aquamarine. Now that I'm awake, I see those colors still. Okay, let's go... Got the manuscript, so I'll turn that in with Dr. Redeem when the time comes. We're tampering with the records, so I await word. We've got 7.5. I probably have enough time to do another commission, to be honest. So let's run with the moth as fast as we can. Still also have enough for the painting. This may be useful for a commission, and dream-wise, back through the stag door. The wolf despair prowls elsewhere. No dread empowers this despair. It's over for now. Alright, and old and happy far off things. Moth finds light in the dark, and so do I. My minion has returned. The evidence has been destroyed. I'm a little safer. So we'll want to put the Callagine into an expedition if I want to preserve it. The altar tilts back like a jaw. Behind it is the pyramid space where only the sun hunters and dawn givers might go, but others have been here too, and much more recently. They have left their treasures. So Refulgan's nice. We'll be able to make a lantern painting out of that. We also have a cracked noonstone. We've got a new location that we can add to our potential headquarters. I think normally we wind up going for moorlands. But there's no rule saying we need to keep with that. Elegably Manacle, so a winter artifact, and good work, everyone. So the Callagine and the Percussagant are going to be the ones that I focus on for my expeditions. Okay, given the fact that we don't really need to worry about the evidence anymore, I think we crash right into the next expedition. We've got a Season of Ardors coming up. I probably should work on a romance at some point, but I've been so busy with my studies, just like real life. The Rose of Nuriel, a volume of collected teachings of the Sisterhood of the Knot, that arcane contemplative order that existed in all histories, but in some was very powerful indeed. This was recorded by Nuriel and dedicated to Saint Tryphon. Saint Tryphon, Nuriel explains, performed the secret miracles in the name of she who bleeds and bears, and she who opens. Thus Saint Tryphon opened the way to the House of the Sun. Thus Saint Tryphon underwent the great birth and ascension to immortality. And yeah, I think we just head straight into the next expedition. In fact, now that I think of it, Cater and Hero, I tend to think of the Callagine as a moth summoning, but the High Forge is going to be something that helps us out as well. It's been abandoned since the explosion, when both the owners died. The machine stands silent. The building is a collapsing shell. Mr. Cater was known to display peculiar trinkets in his office. Perhaps some yet remain. So we're starting to run a little low on funds, but nothing to panic too much about yet. We also have the means to fix the fund situation. We just do more paintings. But for now, we'll turn in with Dr. Adim. I have what the doctor requested. So this is going to be a little challenging as far as dealing with the restlessness is concerned. But at this point, maybe we just worry about the maybe in this case we just worry about the one of the restlessness, let the other one become dread, which we can then use to get rid of this fascination. Either way, it's not going to be something that hits us right away, but it's something that I want to be prepared for just in case. Moving on, I can wait to talk to Madame Bichet about her commission, or we can try and use this erudition, which actually isn't going to help us. I need to use a reason. But yeah, the question is, do I want to try and bring someone into the cult right now? And I think the answer is yes. Let's bring Eau Claire in. My follower will kneel as a novice and rise as an initiate. I will administer the necessary oaths myself. Eau Claire is quiet, meticulous, and remorseless. Would have been a nice little bit of timing if Keonid Abydos is the text that I'm reading at the time that the initiation is being done. But maybe on the recommendation of the initiate. Right, the expedition continues. Our expedition plans for the next challenge. It'll consume funds. I can add funds now, or I could send another follower. So here we've got treacherous grounds, pits and kegs, and sudden tumbles. The earth here cannot be trusted. We will need strong hands or clear sight. Forge or lantern. So, we did talk about earlier about the fact that probably Lantern would see us through anyway, but we do have the forge from the Callagine. So in this case, we'll just add our faithful Laidlaw. We should also get Laidlaw to deal with the cracked Noonstone. Actually, it did occur to me that I probably want to deal with the items as well, because I didn't actually read their description. So, Refulgin, a white so pure that it remains visible even in utter darkness. We've got a cracked Noonstone. Noon, the saying goes, is not what it was, but this stone still retains an embery glow. It has been cracked. A forge-aspected follower could restore it with sufficient resources, or I could use up what power remains in it. Now this is a really helpful one for us, because right now I've been using Reason to bring in Disciples, which is fair enough, but in this case, a Noonstone is the sort of thing that I can use as part of the initiation, and then I don't really need to worry anymore about, using up Reason that could be done for a commission or anything along those lines. So we'll definitely get Laidlaw working on that when we have the opportunity. Then again, the talk, or well, not Laidlaw, but one of the Forge followers. But of course, the other thing is that I may not actually have a Forge follower working on it until I finish all of the different initiations. We'll see. It kind of depends what my mood is. And Elagablian Manacle, very powerful winter artifact. It does not relinquish its grip. Okay. Free turn coming up. So what? We'll see what painting gives us. Erudition's nice. The painted river runs from a great chamber near the white door, far through the mansis to its far edge, where it enters a painted delta of far cloud. I voyaged half its length last night with a stern-faced captain beneath a rust-red sail. As the clouds rose before us, the sailors raised a yearning shanty and close-hauled the sails to best use the painted wind, and all the while the captain and I discoursed of the secrets of the House of the Sun. So my apologies if I'm kind of crashing through these events right now, but we are on a little bit of a roll just in terms of the overall state of the playthrough. I finished the manuscript. So just maybe it doesn't hurt to have a small recap of where we're at. We'd been saving up a bunch of different locations, and we have just enough of a combination for most of the challenges that we're going to run into that we can send either followers or we can augment what we already have in terms of summons. So for instance, in the case of Callagine, we really only need one Forge follower to be able to get that 10 on the challenge. The other thing that's kind of nice is that if I really need to preserve the summons, I should be able to just be able to get them to talk to each other, although in truth, the talk verb is one of my more popular verbs right now, just being able to turn in commissions with Madame Bichet, or receive commissions for that matter. At some point, again, I'm going to need to worry about the painting. I need to do a reputation. Actually, you know what? I don't need to worry about... I think I'm going to do a passion painting now. And we'll use this restlessness as an inspiration. We're probably going to wind up hit by the dread here, but we can just use the fascination to clear that out. And dream-wise, it might come back to bite me depending on when I want to get rid of the fascination, but I still think it's okay to go through the stag door. Some days are better than others. Sometimes the sky is nothing like a filthy sheet. Sometimes the river runs clear. We invoke the Madrigard. An hour of forge as well as winter will make our own path through. Success is almost certain. This, incidentally, every once in a while we talk a little bit about the lore. So I think earlier we talked about how it was very likely... I can't remember if there was... I can't remember if I'd said whether or not there was an official word in terms of sort of hours being governed by different principles, that it was at least heavily implied. But right here, we've got it here. So here we invoke the Madrigard, an hour of forge as well as winter. So I definitely don't think I would have thought of this particular event here. And it's not, I don't mean to imply that this was any kind of a mystery, but one of the things... I think it's fairly clear for the people who've hung out with these broadcasts over a long period of time. One of the things I value the most about this game is the ability to sort of think things through myself. And I don't necessarily think, like, the one thing I never want to do is sort of wag my fingers at people who like using wikis or otherwise engaging with what other people say about the game. But I don't know if it's from my math classes or what, but I've always sort of sat down, and the one question I always wind up asking of a lot of stuff that I had run into is, how do I know you didn't just make that all up? And one of the things that I tend to think of is if I run into a little bit of lore inside of Cultist Simulator, and it says one thing, I do kind of like following my own thoughts on that. Now that means I make mistakes, but that's kind of also some of the fun of the game, right? You sometimes go into a labyrinth of your own thoughts, and sometimes figuring your way out can be part of the fun as well. I'm not entirely sure. Again, people are going to be interested in their own stuff for the game, but I'm not entirely sure that this is a game that works well for people who are easily frustrated. Though if you are easily frustrated and you enjoyed it, I would love to hear what made you stick with the game, I suppose. But one of the things that I actually do find quite difficult whenever I try and get different bits of lore or different bits of information from wikis when I go and look. Sometimes they're good at listing their references. This is also true for the real Wikipedia, by the way. I'm one of those nerds who actually does look at the references. Sometimes in the references for Wikipedia, you'll find that there's a reference listed, but it says nothing like what it claims it does. That's the best case. Sometimes it's taking like one sentence of a paper when it's clear the paragraph is saying the opposite of what it does. That I hopefully gets removed pretty quickly, but you can see the challenge. For fan wikis, often there aren't really citations, and that can be the difficulty, right? Because so the example that I would want to give here, right, is if somebody says to me, the Madrigard, oh yes, that hour, that's a combination of Forge and Winter. Well, how do I know? If I say, oh, the wiki told me to, or told me so, and somebody says, no, that's completely made up. That couldn't be. And then, maybe they point to one of the tarot cards that I'm pretty sure Sarah Gordon did the original set. Or maybe there's a book somewhere, or there's something that refers to the Madrigard, and it's very clearly some other set of aspects. There isn't really a basis to argue against the position. And again, it's entirely possible that the person who you're exchanging with, this is sounding like a really hostile encounter. Hopefully people don't actually yell at each other about the lore of Cultist Simulator. But the challenge is that if you're just simply parroting back what was told, you don't really have a lot to work with if you are faced with some kind of a challenge. And it's not... I struggle a lot with this whenever I try to describe this way of thinking to people, because I kind of feel like for most arguments people will make on anything, usually in favor of something or a particular course of action. I think I've even said this in the broadcast at some point, it's like, oh, so you're saying that on the small chance that such and such happens, I need to... And the thing is that, there's lots of different possibilities in the world, and of course among 5 secret histories, 6 if you count the fan stuff now, there's going to be, any individual event is probably going to be a very, very slim chance, at least, without any information about some of the conditions that will happen before it. I'm pretty sure that the day tomorrow is going to be, well, actually, here's a good example. So for the months, right? Chances are for any given day, without any knowledge of the day, the likelihood of it being, the number of the day being one greater than the one before is very high. Now, if you're on the 30th or the 31st of a month, once you have that information, you actually have a very good indicator that it's not going to be that. And of course, if you're in February, then you're really in trouble. But again, you sort of, without without certain bits of information, you kind of have you assign an even probability to a bunch of different things. So if you have lots of different possible events, then each individual event is going to be quite small. But essentially so when I give the example of sort of the hostile party that's challenging you on everything, sometimes what that can be is just internally for yourself. When you're trying to figure out what's going on in this world, and maybe you're not interested in solving the puzzle, maybe you're only doing this because you think it's a very interesting world and you want to gain a better understanding of what's happening inside of it, because there's obviously some very deliberate gaps that have been left for the player to fill in for themselves. And again, when you challenge yourself, or when you sort of say, well, how do I know that? And sometimes, again, Cultist Simulator is very well constructed, so there are a lot of times when you say, it just feels right that I should do this thing, and you're probably right if you think that way. You can feel a little bit more secure in terms of some of the things that you come up with in the lore if you sort of give a bit of a paper trail. It can also be, I was talking about those labyrinths that you can wind up in if you spend too much time, relying on assumptions or if you only rely on your own knowledge. The way you get out of those is to also indicate why you think certain things over the others. So, anyways, this one is the big reminder here is not that the Madrigard is some big point of significance for me, but it's just a nice little reminder for me that's actually little bits of information about the world in the most unexpected places. Even the intermediate events or intermediate text for events can actually reveal a little bit about the structure of the world. Anyways, we finished the Rose of Nuriel. St. Tryphon began his ascension by passing the Horn Door. He continued it by learning the invocation Thyattic, which Nuriel does not here record on account of its extreme holiness. And Nuriel explains grimly, to achieve the 7 marks of the Great Birth, St. Tryphon consumed both those whose soul had left them, and even those in whom the soul remained. So a little bit better knock lore now. So we've got the Igavine Rite. Every door in the Mansis requires its sacrifice before it will open. The Igavine rites prescribe the manner of the sacrifice. And a Mega-Legion incantation, which I don't think we've got yet. I can't remember if we upgraded the Delightful Sacrament to the Delightful Sacrament or not. So the Great Mother remembers. Now, I am going to read Keonad Abydos, but we are at the end of our time together, so I think I'm going to leave that for the start of the next broadcast. We're in a fairly good spot. I'm going to turn in the commission with Madame Bichet after we've got our talk verb available to us. We have the book. We're actually going to be getting another snack of books relatively soon, which I'm happy about, because we are going to, in a minute, we're going to be out. At some point, I want to upgrade Chiliarch's lesson so that I can finish Count Janning's commission. And we do need to start making a little bit of money again. So once we finish the passion painting, hopefully we get rid of the staleness. Wait a minute, is that? That's gotta be for imagination, not for staleness. Yeah, it's to the right. Yeah, hopefully we get rid of the staleness, and then we can just throw lots of money with our notoriety at the problem. And as for the rest of it, I think, again, burn through as many expeditions as we can. There's going to be a little bit of push and pull as far as the money is concerned, and trying to keep the summonings with the talk verb if I need to work to earn my expeditions. But if we do need to do that, we go to Oriflamme's for the books, and then maybe we'll sell some Iron Spintrea, or we'll have a few different ways of earning money. Painting and Oriflamme's together should generate quite a bit of cash. Just a reminder, tomorrow is my off day. I'm hoping before the end of the year, some of you may know what I'm planning on doing on the Tuesdays, or at least what I used to do on the Tuesdays, but it's something along kind of in a similar spirit to that. It's nothing Cultist Simulator related, so I know that chances are the most popular stuff is going to be Cultist Simulator related, so you're not missing out on much. But in any case, Tuesdays are days off for me, so I will see, hopefully, most of you on Wednesday. I hope you have a wonderful evening, and take care until then.